But I'm going to let the man himself, founder of Third Phase of the Moon, Blake Cousins, tell it. Blake, how you doing today?
Doing good, Dr. J. We're right here at the base, Third Phase of the Moon headquarters in the state of Hawaii. We have a special guest, and I'm excited to have her back. We had her on about a year and a half ago. We did a Skype interview with her. We want to invite everybody, Carrie Cassidy, the founder of Project Camelot. Welcome to Third Phase of the Moon, Carrie.
Hi there.
Wow, welcome back. You know, a year and a half ago, we did the Skype interview. We posted up on the Third Phase. Next thing you know, this interview kind of went viral. I think it's had over 100,000 hits so far, if not more. And the people wanted to hear more from you with your special insight, you know, the jumping from Mars, these jump rooms from Earth to Mars, and all this other stuff. Tell us what's going on over that Project Camelot over the past year and a half. What's the biggest thing that you've come across?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to direct people to my website. So it's projectcamelot.org, for those that don't know. And I've been writing articles, and I do want to let everyone know that the way whistleblowers often come to me nowadays is behind the scenes. They don't want to go on camera. There's been sort of a crackdown. People are afraid, and for the most part, they are not going on camera. Now, I did recently do a very interesting interview with Chip Tatum, who is a longtime Bush Cabal asset who had been in the Special Forces and also went over to Vietnam, Cambodia, has a very long history working for the dark side, you might say, and that is now on live stream. So I did it live on the Camelot live stream channel. And if you go to the front page of Project Camelot, you can see the announcement there and the link to go over there on the article. But you can also go to the top menu and just do the drop down and go to Project Camelot live stream channel. Either way, you can get there. And it's going to be on YouTube after tonight. But strangely enough, or not so strangely, I had a very strange time exporting it. Something very weird happened. And
what happened?
Say that Chip Tatum revealed some stuff that he has absolutely, most likely, never talked about thus far in his career. And what happened is he was out as talking on the circuit back in the 90s, along with Stu Webb, who many people will be familiar with, who's now writing articles for Veterans Today. Turns out they've also recruited Chip Tatum to do so, just in the last couple days, I hear. But at any rate, back in those days, he was only talking about a lot of things that happened during the Iran-Contra affair, as well as, delivering drugs in coolers to Clinton and all this kind of thing. But this is old news. What is interesting for my interview, I was able to actually get him to talk about the secret space program, to talk about, to actually acknowledge in a sort of deep throat kind of way when I asked a question whether something was true or false. And so he has substantiated some very important information on that interview. And I have to say that he's one of the first. So I do want people to take a look at that. Very important information.
Well, Carrie, I also got to congratulate you. Since the past year and a half of your YouTube channel, I think you're exceeding over 70,000 subscribers right now. And you are one to reckon with on getting the word out, which is absolutely amazing. We've had some big interviews ourselves right here at Third Phase of the Moon with Senator Gravel from Alaska. We spoke to him for a couple hours, and then we had an astronaut that landed on the moon, Edgar Mitchell. These high officials are coming forward and speaking out against, the corruption and the cover-up. Tell us about this space program.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Senator Gravel, is it Gravel? Yeah, I think I interviewed him at the Citizens Hearing for Disclosure. A very interesting man. Yes, disclosing various things. He became very well educated as a result of being involved in the Citizens Hearing for Disclosure. So I do want to give Stephen Bassett and that organization a sort of a plug since you brought that up.
Absolutely.
I attended it in Washington, D.C. last year. I think it was in April or May, and in person, and I did a number of interviews, several of which I did publish. I also did sort of a compilation interview, and you will see me ask them questions. You're talking about former Congress people. and see them get very confused, dazed and confused, when they realized I was asking direct questions that they necessarily did not want to answer. The bottom line, though, and to give them credit, was that they were only there for about 1.5 days when already they were beginning to realize that the government was no longer run, if they didn't already know this, which it doesn't appear they did, at least some of them, is run from a secret government, and that we have a parallel government going on as well as a secret space program. And that is what really came to light at the citizens' hearing for disclosure. It was gangbusters information, and something that Camelot has been working on for a very long time. We're anxious to see another such hearing, one in which Camelot will be able to trot out their witnesses, or our witnesses, because we really have the goods. So you're asking me what else is going on, and I basically want to let you know that the other side of the story is what is going on in terms of Promise software having been turned into an artificial intelligence that is much more far-reaching than anything Snowden is ever said out there in public. Now, whether he's aware of this, whether he's aware that the NSA has actually become, for all intents and purposes, their installation, if you will, has become an artificial intelligence. It was begun long ago. Danny Castellero is a journalist who was found dead. They killed him. He was hot on the trail of this story, and more is coming to light around this story, because we are now in this situation where they are basically trying to put into place the New World Order, and they are using Promise software, what has been an expanded version of that now connects all computers, all satellites in a huge network, including nanosatellites, and I can talk more about that if you want, into a network of surveillance on the Earth. They have learned how to triangulate and to watch everything that human beings have done. And now at this point, what I understand is that this AI is a thinking, being, so to speak, although certainly not human. And it is at this time able to figure out how to manipulate the financial system exactly and orchestrate exactly what they want to see happen. They are doing that. Most people think things are changing day by day. This is orchestration. And I just want to give a heads up to everyone out there who thinks that they're watching something happen organically before their eyes. They are not. It is orchestrated. I have the evidence. I want to give kudos to a couple other people that have really gone down this rabbit hole, and want to say that Daniel Estelin, a very well-known investigative reporter, is one of those people. He wrote a book. It's called, and sorry to go on at length here, he wrote a book called The Octopus Deception. It's been out on the marketplace, I think, for almost maybe even 10 years. I'm not sure, maybe less than that. He compiled a lot of this data. He put it in a fictional book. He saw that Danny Castellero, a journalist who he's basically redocumenting his information, he didn't want to be killed, so he followed it out in that way in a fictional book. It's all true. He changed the names in some cases, but you really need to check that out if you want to know more about what's happening.
Well, Carrie, it's been predicted in the next 10 to 20 years, I think it's going to be sooner, that the singularity effect is going to be put into place. Basically, a computer is going to be, basically sentient beings are going to be processing information millions of times faster than our human brain does at this moment. And basically, the first week, these sentient beings will be thinking faster than all of mankind in history put together within the first week. Do you think that we're already there from what you're saying?
Yes, we are there. I'm sorry to say, and I can tell you that this is backed up by one of our Camelot witnesses, Jason Henry Deacon, way back in the early days of Camelot, talked about this. For all intents and purposes, we are really talking about what you might call a military-industrial complex that's run by the Trilateral Commission that is orchestrating events and using, a long time ago, they took and integrated the Cray computers that were underground, that were well documented in underground bases, and added that on to the social networking softwares that are all over the internet, to basically all the intelligence agencies are there, all the law enforcement agencies, you name it, financial institutions. This software has the ability to document your keystrokes. If you've got anything in your house that is linked, such as a toaster, that is linked to the internet, and you don't even know it. Your television, certainly. Even when these objects are off, they have a technology that allows them to use what's called, from what I understand, ambient electricity, and then turn the thing on and go through a back door, access all of your data, go into banks, take money out of accounts without leaving a trace. This is all documented out there, and there's another researcher who should be credited on this as well. And I'm going to get his name on the break and give it back to you, but it's a former police officer. His website was known as somethingthewilderness.com. At any rate, he also has been talking about this for years and years. He also went into hiding. This is a big story. I'm convinced that Michael Hastings, for example, the Rolling Stone journalist, was targeted by this software. It was a hit that was used. They used a drone to do it. Chip Tatum will tell you, and I asked him about the AI, he says basically hitmen like himself and organizations that were putting up false flags, even back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, that for all intents and purposes, these organizations are not even needed. They can do a lot of what they want to do using the AI, activating various drones, et cetera, et cetera. They don't reveal to you the capability that they really have, that our software and that our internet and our wireless currently has. This thing we call fog is manipulative. You can manipulate it, and it can enter your life in ways that were diagrammed in the Minority Report, the Tom Cruise movie. This is all real time we're talking.
Well, speaking of Hollywood and the movies, Hollywood and the Illuminati connection, or the dark side, the dark forces, they come out with these movies to kind of give a sneak peek into the future of what's to come. Right now it's science fiction, tomorrow it's science fact. There's going to be a movie coming out, I think, within a month or so, and it's kind of touching upon what you're talking about. It's called Transcending. It's going to be with Johnny Depp, and its regards is to this, this technology that allows a person or a program to think in ways that you're talking about. Do you think there might be some good that comes of this, like maybe figuring out a cure for cancer?
Well, you have to understand there's a certain group that is, if you will, in control, at least for the moment. It appears they're in control of the AI, and that is the Illuminati. That is the dark cabal. As long as they're in control, you want to know if good's going to come out of it? No, in my opinion. But my point of view, see, one of the things that they talk about is the capability of this kind of system is to be able to predict what human beings are going to do. And whereas I think they can take a good stab at it, I think they can never fully predict us. One of the reasons is because of our connection to source. And I had a long discussion with someone today about this very subject, so I'm sort of primed and ready to explain the nuances of that statement. But the bottom line is that human beings, because we have spirit and a soul, and this even gets back to the Wingmakers material, if you're familiar with that, means that we supersede the AI in every way, ultimately. And so thinking fast is really not the name of the game. Computers, yeah, bigger, faster, stronger, but in the end, it's going to be something that is a few steps beyond that. It involves spirit, it involves the combination of the heart and the intelligence, and these are things that computers simply can't do.
Well, the singularity effect as well, they do predict that everything is around us. Out of thin air, we could grab the atoms through nanotechnology and build whatever we want out of thin air. Spaceships, food, you name it, we can build it out of thin air because it's all there. The elements are there. Do you think we're there at this moment in time of the technology to start materializing solid objects through a process?
Yeah. Look, there are two paths. One I call angelic human. The other is robotic Superman. The military-industrial complex dark side has chosen the latter, the robotic Superman, which means we're talking about, human. God, what's that word? I forget what it's called, but transhumanism. So in the end, yes, there's a way to materialize reality using a machine like what they say is basically a printer or a copy machine, a very expanded version of it, but a 3 or 4D capability within that machine, and ultimately you can materialize reality. This has been in some science fiction books, by the way, one in particular that I was reading out so long ago. But yes, I have a witness back channel whistleblower who's told me that one of the big fears that the supposed dark side had was that ultimately, if you look at it now, a lot of the work that people go rushing off to work to do is nonsense. It's busy work. It's just keeping human beings off the street, keeping their eyes on the ground and their feet one foot in front of the other in lockstep so that they don't stop, look around, and realize what's happening. So in a sense, it's a prison in and of itself, your 9-to-5 job. Most of them are completely useless. They're beside the point. The AI can orchestrate that and do it much, much better, faster. As far as creating reality, we as human beings, in our natural state, as we move up the sort of re-evolutionary food chain, going back to source, we could materialize reality at any given time. This is not even a new capability within the human sort of entity. But the bottom line is that, yes, we can do it by machine. They are scientifically now achieving that sort of thing. This is documented out there. There are articles even in mainstream about it. So sure, we're very quickly approaching that on a machine level. I would say as humans, as we begin to move closer to what is in essence transcendence or ascendance, and moving out of this 3D going into 4D reality, we can do all sorts of things. We can fly, we can change our DNA, we can materialize ourselves and dematerialize ourselves, we can create reality around us. We're doing it anyway. If you think about it again on a sort of slower level, we materialize our desires, our hopes and desires in front of our eyes every day. You want to go to the store, you go to the store.
Carrie, we actually have a question from the chat room. Our assistant, Laura. Laura, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, we have a lady named Tony Lincoln in the chat room, and she was inquiring. An associate of hers had his doctor from Santa Barbara was killed in her Porsche, she says, exactly the way Mike Hastings and Phil Walker were. And she wants to know if you think these accidents were perhaps connected. I think the doctor's name was Kim Meek, and the questioner thinks she's been targeted and has been for many years. What do you know about these kinds of incidents?
Well, as I mentioned, during or after the Michael Hastings murder, as I call it, was done, I did some back channel investigations. I connected with even some journalists, and I'm not going to name who they are. Obviously, want to protect people. And I can tell you that there was a disinformation campaign put out there very quickly. By the way, just a side note, I just interviewed Ole Dalmagard yesterday, who has written a book, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, about the death of I believe his name is Olof Palmer, who was back in the 60s, a prime minister of Sweden. This was another hit. He diagrams how the hits are connected all the way up to the murder of John Lennon, the murder of Bob Marley, in a very interesting interview I did yesterday. But to get back to the question, I don't know your doctor, obviously. I'm sorry. I can, if he's well known, I can look him up on the internet. You're saying he was killed in a Porsche.
Not my doctor, the chat room lady.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer their question directly here. But whoever the person is, let me say that if, they are using drones, they are using nanotechnology. Why he would be targeted in particular, I don't know. I wouldn't know anything about the case, obviously, but I can tell you that if you look at what happened to Michael Hastings, the things he was investigating, he was also in very close touch with Edward Snowden, apparently, before he died. There is evidence out there that he was probably going to verge on the in the direction of really beginning to understand the military-industrial complex. He was very close to various generals. He became too close, as they say, to General Crystal. And General Crystal has a very long resume that involves black projects. And so it's my theory that Michael Hastings was coming too close to the truth. He's much more well-known than I am. You can appreciate that if a Rolling Stone journalist were to know what I know, they could possibly even, knock down the establishment with causing people to sit up and take notice. You've got to understand they keep a very strong divide between people like myself that investigate this, whistleblowers and so on, from very deep black projects, whistleblowers of that type, and people that go into the mainstream like Snowden and Julian Assange, etc.
Terry,
hi, Terry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening to you. Thank you for giving us your time. I wanted to ask you back about the guy that was giving a Senate hearing, and he was in charge. This was and he had like a seizure and a fit. Do you remember that? Not so long ago. And then he was obviously taken out, and then they brought in a new general. And I was wondering if that seizure was brought on about by some maybe MK Ultra or some sonic weapon or something like that.
Well, Ken, I would need the name. It's not ringing a bell right offhand, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I acknowledge, I can't see everything out there. I try. But, maybe I missed it. I don't know. I also have been traveling a fair amount the last couple months, and I miss things when I have. I can tell you that it sounds as though I've had witnesses pick up the phone and die. I had a guy reporting on the Challenger, crash and also the Kennedy assassination, his wife saw him pick up the phone and he dropped dead. She ran out of the house. That was Ed Lochran. So this kind of thing is going on. They do kill people this way. This is well documented.
Terry, what is the end game for the Illuminati or the Dark Forces? What's their objective, and when are they going to achieve it, or will they?
Well, of course, that's as they say back in the old days. They said that's the $64,000 question. I guess we'd have to up that financial pot and say that that's the several $billion question, or maybe the 3 or 4 trillion that Rumsfeld said we lost back around 9/11, so-called lost. Basically their agenda involves what I call the building of robotic supermen. They want a humanity 2.0. They want to use technology to achieve that. They want to use the AI to achieve that. Part of the problem that they're going to be facing is, first of all, other races who have already gone far down that road, as you can appreciate, like certain species of greys are notorious for that. And other visiting races that are becoming a problem. If you listen to my interview, even the last couple of days ago with Chip Tatum, you will see him say, in essence, that the biggest problem they now have is, in essence, off-planet races that have started coming here, interfering with their end game, which was to basically go interstellar, using the secret space program, eliminate a certain number of population here, clear off the Earth, and just make it sort of a nice golf club for the very wealthy with a few slaves to do the dirty work, and then go interstellar and to other planets and dominate them. They are looking to get places, faster, better, stronger, you name it. That's their end game. They will use any means necessary. They will torture your children. They will manipulate your DNA. They will use, combine animal DNA with human in order to make you better, faster, stronger, but they will definitely go through artificial means by which to achieve those aims. They have, no holds barred.
Carrie,
that's the game. Whether they're going to achieve it, no. I'm fighting the good fight here. I firmly believe that the more we know, the bigger threat we are to them. And so I'm all about getting the truth out about what's really going on. I believe humanity is waking up. I believe the field of resonance that happens when we do a radio show such as this, when the lights start going on in their heads, because we've all got this information. We're all psychic. We are all incredibly linked, but it has to do with our link and our going back to source. And so we have the strength. The cards are in our court. I think we'll win eventually.
Caller area code unknown. Welcome to the show, and what would you like to ask Miss Cassidy?
Hey, Dr. J. Hey, Miss Cassidy. Basically, you guys were talking about Michael Hastings and his takeout and possibly by a drone strike, right? Obama's been really upfront about the use of power of drones, something like 30,000 allowed over the airspace of the United States. But what I wanted to bring up is Paul Walker. He was the main actor in the Fast and Furious movie saga, and
he was also in Skulls, wasn't
he? Yeah, his vehicle was also blown up. Him and the driver in a Porsche, and he. What I wanted to ask Carrie. This is rectified, by the way. But what I wanted to ask Carrie, was. Paul Walker actually that day was doing a charity fund for the Philippines for all the victims of the super typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda. There was two different names for it, right? That hit the Philippines. And what he come to find is some of the relief effort food items that were going to be sent over and the antibiotics were going to be tainted with sterilization drugs for population control. Total Agenda 21 type of deal. And he was going to go public with this information. So I believe he was droned also. Hellfire missile, straight up. I'm going to take it off the air, but yeah, I wanted to hear your guys' input on that.
Carrie, any comments?
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, it's highly likely, from what I could tell, that the small bit of information that I tried to investigate about his death. I have to say you have some good information there. No doubt about it. The Philippines, by the way, is a hot spot because of all the gold that is buried there by the Japanese after and during World War II. Not all of the gold has been gotten out of there, and by the way, there's a lot of gold in the jungles of Indonesia, from what I'm beginning to understand as well. I'm beginning to think that Fukushima was a direct hit on the Japanese because they're still hiding a great deal of gold that they plundered from around the world prior to World War II. I believe the United States and China and the Mossad basically got together and did this targeted hit on Japan. I think that Japan is probably going to get hit again, and I don't like to say that, but I believe the emperor is well aware of the real battle going on. I'm very sorry that the Japanese people are not as aware of why and what's really happening to their amazing country. Beautiful, wonderful people the Japanese are. Just unbelievable stuff going on behind the scenes here. But in back to Paul, I forget his last name, Walker, I think you said. No doubt. It appears that he did get involved. He was becoming a star with conscience, and this is something that, of course, they like to take those people out.
Sarah, do you think we could have our cake and eat it too? With the technology advancing as fast as it is, and the revelations that are going to come out of these sentient beings when they start thinking millions of times faster than the human brain could process. I want to go to other planets. I want to be, we got to be genetically engineered to have eternal life so we could visit these other planets and get into our spaceships. Do you think we could have that without this New World Order trying to take out 80% of the population and then have it for themselves?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're raising your hand and saying you want to get involved in the secret space program, but and I wouldn't recommend it. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter is, it comes down to bloodline. You're not really going to have a choice so much as it comes down to your bloodline and whether or not they're going to let you in, so to speak. But if you want to say, am I talking about the fact that we can have no technology versus, technology and nothing but and being ruled by the Illuminati, that actually is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that choices are made by humanity and by this group of humanity that has chosen a very dark path that will involve things like transhumanism against your will, may I add, because what's happening here, this is coming more and more to light, is that there is nano in the chemtrails, and that humanity, through Morgellons and other types of evidence, is being transformed, whether you like it or you don't. And I believe also that the Fukushima and the other reactors that are at the moment, several of which are melting down, and probably more will in the future. I mean, our entire planet is being terraformed or re-terraformed. Our atmosphere is being changed. It's becoming more methane-like. We were invaded by a species of greys, obviously that did make what are, in essence, gray human hybrids. A number of those children, maybe even in the millions, are alive and on the Earth today, some of which aren't on the Earth, some are on other planets. This was an active program. It was successful to some degree. Now, whether those children are going to make it all the way through, life for a certain period of time, I think it's still an experiment in process. But you have to understand that this situation has been going on now, at least to our knowledge, since the 1930s. Now, this is when it really went into sort of high gear, if you will. There's no doubt that even back during the day of Babylon, back in when Egypt was in its heyday, et cetera, the Anunnaki were here on Earth, even back in Sumeria. You're talking about a race that did bring onto this planet certain technology, certain capabilities that have never left. Some of those beings are still here. They're still interacting with our astronauts. Talk to Clark McClelland if you don't believe me. As it happens, Chip Tatum also has gotten some information that he acknowledged in a very sort of, as I said, deep throat kind of way on my interview the other night along these lines. So you want to know if you can be part of that, you are part of it. And but what's going to happen, whether they let you out in space, whether you fly a spaceship, if that, makes you happy, and so on and so forth. Look, we should be so much further along on this planet just in terms of technology. There are two civilizations. One is, in essence, this secret space program. It's at least one, whistleblowers say 10,000 years in advance of what we're doing. And then there's us. We still have gasoline-driven cars. It's a joke. Free energy should have been unveiled a long time ago. What can I tell you?
Carrie, is all the technology we're using came from alien artifacts? And you also mentioned last hour that these off-planet races are coming here. Why do you think they're coming here?
Well, there are many reasons, many agendas, probably as many agendas as there are races of beings, in essence, going out on the solar system. So it's kind of like as above, so below. On a certain level, you really have to look at each individual race. I mean, you can look at Marshall V. N. Summers' work. He's talking about, he's talking in what I would term kind of like about something that's already happened, which is in essence, leave humanity alone, let us develop on our own, get rid of the off-planet races that are trying to invade us for various things like minerals or whatever else they're looking for, or if it's Greys and Reptilian, they live off our emotional life, they live off our sexual energy, our orgone. That is food to them. They also outright kill children and eat them. I mean, this is what's going on. So why are they coming here? We're a food source to some of these races. Other races, it's more of an imperative, like we have on the dark side, certainly, which is to invade and dominate. The other races, some of them have actually destroyed their own planets. They're doing exactly what we seem to be hell-bent to do here. And they're coming here because they've destroyed their planet, and this is a very, incredibly beautiful planet to inhabit and take over. It even has a race of beings that could easily be turned into slaves and haven't quite realized who they are. So, there are a lot of reasons for coming here.
Apart from getting stressed out by this, like Kerry, is there anything positive that the people that you've interviewed over these years can tell us, so if we can protect ourselves, other than just being informed and being knowledgeable,
Well, you have to understand that awareness is a spiritual sort of road. And as you become aware, it changes your aura, it changes your energetics. You wake up the cells, you wake up your DNA, you wake up your intelligence, you turn on all that supposedly junk intellect that we supposedly have in there, and you become a much greater, more self-aware being. You also walk into a room and change the people around you. Is there something positive? Yes. Every single thing I tell you has a very positive side if you twist it into the fact that we are, in essence, linked to the Creator. And so by virtue of our connection, which is what a lot of those beings are also after. It's like think of it, if you want to think of it graphically, we are a candle of the Creator. Each one of us is a small flame. In essence, as that flame starts to grow brighter and brighter, and as we unite here on Earth through love, through this amazing energetics that can transform your body as a result, which involves Kundalini, thinking the chakras, et cetera, the light that we generate, even in the multiverses, changes. So we are, our capability to affect in a positive way the other beings, even the negative ones that come to visit us and have dark intentions, we can eventually sort of repel them, if you will. We are going to also change the world around us the wiser we become. So there's a destiny. It's a positive destiny. We simply have to become more aware in the process.
We did a prediction on Third Phase Moon a week ago. Just the day before the Super Bowl, there was a lot of chat coming through that there's going to be some kind of an event. The Illuminati was going to be written all over it during the halftime. And when it came around, it was kind of just like the game, lackluster, really no signs of anything. It was kind of a toned-down Super Bowl and, a moral right through all these Super Bowls, all this immorality going on with Janet Jackson booby shots and everything else. It kind of became a joke. They cleaned it up this time, but then everybody thought it was over and our prediction was wrong. But at a press conference, they interviewed the MVP of the Seattle Hawks, and as he was speaking, a man jumped up on stage, grabbed the microphone out of his hand, and claimed 911 was an inside job. There it was.
But how did that on the sweatshirt of the guy that was sitting behind there being interviewed? He had a big Illuminati symbol with the all-seeing eye, and that was on his shirt. So these symbols are in front of us.
Well, we're in the midst of a war here on Earth, no doubt about it. But let me say,
war for our soul.
That Chip Tatum, who again I interviewed a day ago, he was interrogated. This did not make mainstream news. It was on my website, but Stu Webb had given me a heads up about it. He actually got hold of that letter, the Treason Bowl letter, if you're familiar with it, which I published in Before It's News, and a number of other alternative sites were sent in the mail, a letter telling them about a possible false flag that was supposed to possibly happen at the Super Bowl. But in the midst of all of that, what happened was that Chip Tatum put it on his own website. The FBI then knocked on his door. He was interrogated for 8 full hours over that letter. They thought he wrote it. All he did was get it in the mail and put it on his site. Now, that never made the mainstream. The mainstream pundits were all during the Super Bowl saying there had been no threats. You will hear me ask Chip Tatum about that, and basically he and Stu Webb both say, both of whom have had lots of dealings with the intel community their whole lives, that this kind of stuff never reaches the light of day, even if they have a real threat and they deal with it, unless it goes public, so to speak, unless there's a bomb go off or whatever. You're not going to find out about it if they successfully defeat whatever it is. Now, I made a number of statements about that on my website, and you can read my article there as well. A lot of people are convinced that guy was a hoaxer. In my view, he is not. In my view, the FBI would not spend 8 hours interrogating somebody if they thought that was a meaningless hoax. And I think that what's very interesting is that this was an individual who felt it necessary to put a number of details into that letter. I do know that the ABC and NBC made a big deal of saying that they interrogated the workers there. This guy was supposedly a worker. I even heard one newscaster in a mainstream station saying they interrogated these people, checked their backgrounds thousands of times. Now, look, where did they get that information? Why were they so interested in their worker bees? The indicators are that this guy actually did have some good information. What my premise is on this is, look, there's a movie out there called Delete, D-E-L-E-T-E. It's on Netflix. I want to recommend that everyone watch this. I think it's absolutely imperative. You have to begin to understand that there is an overall agenda, and that these people have been working on it for the past, I don't know what you say, 60 years or so, and that basically they can set up Super Bowls and other stadiums and things of that sort just like they do humans. They make them into Manchurian candidates. They make them into places where they can carry off whatever means of destruction they decide to do on a heartbeat. That does not mean they're going to activate it at that time. There is a number of symbolisms that were going on during the time of the Super Bowl that indicated it's on a ley line. You could go down the whole sort of 9 yards with it. It's all over the web, so I don't need to outline all of it. But just let me say, we're not going to see the last of the false flags. There have been so many of them, it's ridiculous. Listen to my interview with Oleg Damagard, who spent 30 years investigating the death of the Swedish Prime Minister, the nefarious ways in which they set these up. They create patsies. They create misdirects. They hire police. The police are purposely incompetent. They plant evidence. Here on Revolution Radio, Mike, what we call him Nighthawk, he's been documenting this stuff and doing some good investigative journalism around a lot of the false flags that have come forward through the years. Aurora, Colorado, Sandy Hook, you name it. Some people are trying to figure out where the next hit will be. I don't think it's an idle thing to be investigating. I think it's important. I think we need to have an awareness and a heads up.
Blake and Carrie, we have just a little over 4 minutes, and I know, Blake, you got more to ask, but I wanted to ask you, Blake, if you wanted to take the caller or chat, or they can wait for after. Go ahead, Blake.
Well, let's get to the chat on the second hour. I just wanted to thank Carrie Cassidy for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon. We'd like to have you back in the future. The insight you always provide is mind-blowing and so informative that people really appreciate it. Carrie, any last words for the Third Phase of Moon viewers and listeners when we post this up on YouTube?
Well, let me just say that I think that people should keep an open mind. Never throw something out, don't throw out don't kill the messenger. Listen to everything people are saying. File it away. That's all you need to do. You don't need to go out there and criticism and say, oh, they're a hoaxer, oh, they're this, that, the other. You may be surprised. Some of these things will come back to roost. As an investigator, I never throw anything out. I just consider it. I file it away. I just wait and see. I use my intuition to triangulate things. This is the kind of thing that you want to do. You want to stay open.
Carrie, what's next for you?
Oh God. Well, I am going to the UFO Congress. I'm actually going to stop and see. I'm hoping to see Bob Dean. I don't know if it'll be possible. He's not been doing well in health, I have to say. I will be trying to interview a certain person at the UFO Congress. I'm not going to say who it is. So I'll probably be there if you show up. I won't be hanging out a lot there, so I have to say that I'm never really happy with their lineup. I'll say that publicly. But some of the people are good, so there's always some I guess you might say diamonds in the rough, and so I think Friday night I'm going to be doing a joint radio show with Jordan Maxwell and Wendy from the Granada Forum. That's on my Friday night show. So they're going to be broadcasting from the Conscious Life Expo. It's happening this weekend in LA. A number of speakers will be stopping by to say hello as well. So we'll be probably doing that. That's the most recent thing.
Wow, Carrie, appreciate again being right here on Third Phase of Moon Radio. We'll be putting the links below to look at Carrie Cassidy's website, her YouTube channel, and her radio show. We'll be happy to share the links. Carrie, hey, thanks again.
Okay, thank you so much.